Wait, really?
Coming through.
Come on, man.
Haha.
I'm trying to have my sad, salty moment. Just leave me alone for a bit.
Well, I'm having way too much fun playing the alpha.
Okay, yeah, so you got in. Ooh, whoop-de-doo, mother. Hey, it's Soul. It is February 9th, 2018. This is Warcraft Weekly. That is Bob over there, and let's get started with the show. So how was your week, everybody? My week was, well, it was interesting. There's just a lot going on. We have the alpha that has just come out, and it's starting to be tested by, well, all the people that are more popular than me. There was a little bit of raiding going on. We were running alts, and can you... yeah, this was definitely a salt show. But how about you folks? How has your week been? I'd love to hear your thoughts about, just how your real life week was, your WoW week was, or if you did happen to get into the alpha, what's the experience like? Or is it everything you dreamed of? Because for me, I was just kind of, get it out of here, dude. Come on. As said, I'd love to hear some of your impressions and initial thoughts as, even if you weren't in the alpha, just from some of the information that you guys are looking at. And I'm going to be covering just a couple of small non-spoilery things. What do you think so far? This week's featured WoW YouTuber is VikzeLink. VikzeLink's content includes mostly Let's Plays involving the world of Warcraft as well as other games. I admit that Let's Plays aren't quite for me. I mean, it's kind of funny because I stream and I usually do stuff and I comment on whatever I'm playing. But for me, part of the draw is that I am live streaming. So I'm talking with folks, I'm chatting things up, I'm changing up the subject every now and then, and I'm not just 100% focused on the game itself. With that said, Let's Plays exist for a reason. There are a lot of people that enjoy watching it, so I do recommend watching this guy. His adventures on Azeroth are split into like 15-20 minute segments, so they're perfectly digestible. And if nothing else, give him some credit for putting his face on an orc and making that as the thumbnail. Anyway, check him out, tell him what you think, how you feel, and as always, if you know of any small WoW YouTuber who has 10,000 or fewer subscribers, you think they need a look, well, that's really bright. If you think they need a look-see, send them my way and I will feature them in a future weekly. The other day, Activision Blizzard, which is Blizzard Entertainment's holding company, held their quarterly earnings call. Yeah, and just like with every earnings call, the same people come out and spout their nonsense.
Oh my god, they don't want to release subscriber numbers because they don't want to reveal how dogshit their game is.
That sort of thing. Folks like you and me really don't need to give a damn about these kinds of calls at all. Like, have you actually listened to these things?
For Q1 on a non-GAAP basis, we expect product costs of 20%, operating expenses of 43%. We expect non-GAAP net interest expense of $29 billion, $29 million, a tax rate of 20%.
This is boring. The audience is not, it's not a BlizzCon audience that this is being spoken to. These are, accounting businessy people that are listening in. They only care about the numbers that matter, and that doesn't include just how many subscribers are in the world of Warcraft. The reason I am bringing this up is because you see this on like MMO Champion for, to kind of bait people into having these sorts of conversations. Well played. So news-wise, that's pretty much it. Almost everything else that I'm going to be talking about today is going to be about the Battle for Azeroth Alpha. As you probably already know, the Alpha opened up on Tuesday to dozens of lucky people, including some of the most popular YouTubers and streamers, as well as news organizations. And there's been tons and tons and tons of information already pouring out, some of it spoiler rich and more of it even more spoiler rich. But I'm going to try to just kind of cherry pick a couple of things that might be of interest to you. So at the moment, we speculate that at the start of the Battle for Azeroth expansion, we are thrown right into the belly of the beast at the Battle for the Undercity. Assuming that that's going to have its own kind of meaty scenario-like feel to it, there's also going to be an additional scenario intro sort of deal that's going to happen for each faction. These respective scenarios are expected to propel the players to their respective continents, whether it's kul'tiras or Zandalar. Only 2 of the 6 zones are available for testing at the moment. Drustvar, or is it Drustvar? I'm never gonna get these. And Nazmir. As you might recall, there were 5 leveling dungeons in Legion. According to an alpha screenshot though, there might be up to 9 dungeons that are available for leveling. I have a feeling that that's not going to be the case. Maybe it's just like that right now for the purposes of testing, even though there are only 2 dungeons that are available for testing right now. This might be something that was left over from like internal testing when, you know, all of Blizzard's internal testers were able to just kind of queue up for whatever they wanted. My expectation though, and this is without knowing any of the storylines behind any of these dungeons or what these dungeons even are, is just that there's only going to be a much smaller selection of dungeons available for leveling. I admit though it's going to be a little bit weird. We have 2 continents to work with this time, and it's already been said that as you're leveling, you're pretty much going to stay on your particular continent, and then at max level, the other continent opens up for like daily activities and such. The same thing is going to be expected here. For example, I'm a Horde, okay, and there's going to be a particular set of dungeons that are available for me while leveling, but I won't be able to queue up for any of the dungeons on the Alliance side until I'm max level. Meanwhile, an Alliance player will have access to those Alliance dungeons, but they won't get access to any of the Horde dungeons until they too are at max level. So this is pretty much the same as how things went in Legion. You had your 5 initial leveling dungeons, and I kind of have a short list that I threw together, but then at max level, other dungeons opened up, such as Karazhan, those Suramar dungeons, Blackrock Cold, Seat of the Triumvirate, and so on and so forth. I mentioned in a previous video that raid buffs and debuffs are coming back. Now that the alpha started, I can safely say that yes, they are still expected to come back, and now we have a few more details on how it's going to work. Certain buffs like Power Word Fortitude and Battle Shout, those are going to be in, and it's going to feel like they've always felt. You just use the ability and, you know, use it on yourself. Okay, cool, you get the buff. If you happen to be in a party or raid and use it on someone, then everyone's going to get that buff as well. Whoop-de-doo. With debuffs though, and these apply to folks like rogues and demon hunters that provide extra vulnerability to certain schools of damage, those are things that are applied to enemies when they're hit by attacks. And I'm not 100% sure yet because I'm not in the alpha yet, but I can't tell if this is something that's applied from like doing direct damage or auto attack damage, or if you can do like a fan of knives and get a whole bunch of mobs at once. The idea behind these debuffs is that they're supposed to be a kind of set and forget sort of thing. Like you hit a mob once and this vulnerability debuff lasts for a minute. So this isn't something that you're expected to like apply and then reapply and add into a rotation, which I'm kind of okay with, kind of not. I'm really curious to see what people think about the application of these debuffs. Going back to the buff side of things, if you guys are worried, like I'm kind of worried about not having the necessary comp to cover all the buffs that we need, thankfully, scribes will be able to make buff scrolls once again. In this case, the buff scrolls are going to apply to the most important ones, which increase your primary stats. So they won't be as powerful as the actual class buffs. It's going to be a difference between 10% for the actual buffs and 7% for the scrolls. And these are going to cover all the primary stats, which is stamina, magic damage, and non-magic damage, so like strength and agility. It looks like Tailoring will be able to cover some of the other buffs through the use of flags. My guess is that this Phalanx Defense one is for armor, Rallying Swiftness might be for run speed, and Spirit of Freedom, I have no freaking idea. Along with this particular alpha build comes with, and this is all still speculation, but the kind of expectation that the Vulpera, those little furry fox looking creature goblin things, that they're expected to become an allied race. Oh, and I'm just kidding. I'm not that, you know, I don't really give that much of a shit about it. But this kind of highlights the sentiment among certain players that, you know, who are opposed to something like this, that there is a certain sentiment out there for people that want the Horde to look and feel a certain way. Going all the way back to even the introduction of the Blood Elves, there's always been a kind of feeling among certain folk that, well, the Horde is supposed to look like this and feel like this, and why are you defiling, you know, the look and feel of the Horde with these upright, standing, beautiful-looking people. With every new race that's been brought in since, like, forever, well, the Vulpera are really bringing this conversation back in. There's lots of reasoning going back and forth as to why they should or they shouldn't join. Some folks are like, oh, but we need, like, a cute race to complement us, just like the Alliance have gnomes. Others are saying that the Vulpera shouldn't join because they are kind of, sort of, well, pretty much a reskin of goblins. In my opinion, though, we've gone well past the point where anything is sacred thanks to something simple like toys. In-game toys let us do all sorts of weird random things. We can be, as tall as a building. We can be as tiny as a mouse. We can do all sorts of things to defile our appearance. So being able to change your default appearance into something else, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And I think that's about all I can talk about right now. Everything else that has been revealed so far, without me being able to get into the alpha myself, has been a lot of spoilery kinds of stuff, story things. So maybe I'll try to cover that in an entirely separate video that's spoiler filled, and it'll be full of speculation and all sorts of other stuff. But that's I don't really do that here. So that's pretty much it as we scratch the surface of the beginning of the Biffa Alpha. I'm hoping that in the next round or so, I too get into the alpha, so just like 2 years ago, I'll start covering all this alpha stuff and give you previews and other, spoilery things, because it's fun. I really like being part of the community that brings you all these previews, and I get a really bad case of FOMO if I don't. Anyway, I want to thank everyone that's been supporting me up till now, and all the newcomers, the new subscribers and viewers and watchers and followers that are around. Thanks for stopping by. If you want to be one of the super special people that help influence the direction of this channel, you can support me as a patron or as a Twitch subscriber or whatever you like. Take a look at the link below, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and etc. So I hope to see you next week for this and all things Warcraft. Until then, you all have a good one, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.